Welcome, welcome, welcome to Hoops Zooted. I'm your host, Evan Moore, and I'm here tonight. Um, I am actually kind of feel lucky to be here tonight. I was in a bit of a car accident on Friday, and I have broken my thumb. So we are recording this episode a little bit late. We've been recording this on Friday. We're recording this on Sunday, just after watching the Lakers game, just after watching the Bucks. They won that game, but I felt like the Lakers looked great once again. Like, you know, LeBron and Reeves didn't even start, and we came out and just looked great in that first quarter. And yeah, I'm really excited for this team. So anyway, I'm here today. I'm playing a little bit hurt, but I'm here, ready to talk hoops. And how are you doing today, Colin? Oh, you're on mute, Colin. I can't hear you.
Hey-oh, there we go. Little zooted over here. That'll happen. Yeah, man, just super happy to be here and super happy that you're here. Like you said, very very scary accident. Evan sent me a picture of what his car looked like, so I know it's serious, but glad he's no major injuries and that we're here able to talk about the Lakers.
Yeah, like I said, I'm happy to be here. Sad we couldn't do our show on Friday, but just like I was not up to it mentally on Friday.
No worries.
Okay, so yeah, we even had guest plan, and unfortunately, yeah, but we just kind of are throwing this show together kind of impromptu to get here on Sunday night, but shout out to those guests. We are gonna hook up with you again. We do want you on our show. Didn't work out this Friday, but there will be another time. So,
and anyone else who ever wants to be a guest on our show, feel free to either DM myself or Evan. Always looking for new guests. So just
absolutely
PSA there.
Absolutely, and we would love opposing fan bases as well as Laker fans.
Yeah, so, totally.
And whether or not you're down with smoking or not, it doesn't matter either. So just let us know. We're open to everybody, and it's really about the conversation here. That's what's most important to us. Oh, and speaking of which, I forgot to talking about the accident. I've also bruised my sternum, so I'm not smoking today, but I am about 80 milligrams deep right now on gummies.
Is that double the dosage that you were on the last time you took edibles? I think almost, I remember last time
almost, you. Yeah, I was 40. About. I think I was like close to 50. I was at 48. I think last time.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, and I didn't feel good because it hurts when I cough. Hurts when I move little things like that. So didn't feel like smoking because it's no fun. You get that nice, good feeling, high feeling, and then it can be taken away with that pain because you're coughing and everything like that. So,
totally. Well, glad that this is another example of why edibles can be great. So yeah. But I took a dab right before this. So again, for those of you that I explained on episode 0, I believe what it was. But it's just super high concentrated THC that you're smoking out of a water pipe. So it's just a one hit smack to the face, and that's why I started with my mic muted. So
yeah, I was thinking one of these days we'll have to do a show where we both dab, and we'll show everybody
totally
how to dab, because it's a completely different kind of mechanism and technique than smoking some bud, and it's a lot. It's interesting, and I'd like to show that to the people at some point. So
yeah,
we'll do totally. A dab show at some point.
Totally, yeah. Show and tell. I'm always down.
Awesome. So anyway, we're gonna get right into Lakers preseason right away. I already talked a little bit about the game that we just had. We did lose, so that makes us now 2-3 on preseason. But the record, I'm not even bothered by that in the least. when I looked at this team last year, like, because at this point last year, I'm pretty sure we hadn't won a preseason game. Like, I think we
Oh,
finally that
no.
last preseason game, or did we even win? I'm trying to
I
remember.
think I don't know if we won one. We either went 1-4 or we went 0-5 because they only did 5 last year.
Yeah,
This year they increased it to 6.
yeah,
But yeah.
exactly. And I
So
couldn't remember if because it was also it was the same misery, the year before with Frank
yeah,
Vogel. I've kind of like I feel like
yeah,
I've kind of meshed both of them together, trying to
yeah. I haven't had a good preseason in decades. No, I'm just kidding.
exactly, but like you know that record when you look at it 2-3, you're like but like what I've seen on the court has been, in my opinion, nothing short of amazing. Like this team is loaded, and in a lot of ways, I feel like the league is not ready. Like this is, we are going to get off to a fast, hot start. Now, we've got a tough start with those first two games, and I think there's a good chance we might split those two games. But I also think there's a very good chance we win both those two games against Denver and Phoenix. So, and if we do that, I kind of look for this team to really start the season on a good win streak, like a good 8 to 10 game win streak, like legitimate, win streak. Like, because I always feel like those little 4 or 5 game win streaks, they're nice, but like they don't, to me, kind of set a team apart, because like I feel like any team in the NBA can get, at any point in the season about 4 or 5 games and string them together. But when you get to the 8 to 10 range, and especially 10 and above, that's elite level for me. So, and I think we're going to see it this year, and I think we'll see it a couple times this year where we're going to have some win streaks like that. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. And, we did lose both of our preseason games to the Warriors, but I'm kind of
they're already hanging a banner. They're hanging
yeah,
a banner.
exactly. They're making a banner for it. So I'm kind of secretly happy about that because, like, there's so many Warrior fans that are doing victory laps over that, and I'm like, have your fun right now because both of those games, like when our starters were in, we were looking much better than you. So I feel very confident about our seasons during our matchups during the regular season, and I look forward to that. And yeah, so I'm kind of happy that they won both those regular season games. I'm like, yeah, you can have those because us Laker fans, that doesn't really matter to us. We're gonna get the ones that count. So
And now we got a little extra. Not that we needed any motivation to beat the Warriors this year, but now we got a little extra, bulletin board material is 2 preseason losses. So
exactly, and especially like the fashion that they won that game this week too, where they left Kuminga, GP2, and who was the third one?
Moses Moody.
Moses Moody. Thank you. All in the game against our G Leaguers, our G Leaguers, and they barely won that game. But you could tell on the bench, like Clay was celebrating, they wanted that preseason game. That meant something to them.
Yeah.
So, like, that's the other thing. Like, let them have that because we're going to show them, like, when it really counts. So, like, yeah, I thought that was fun and funny. And, like, it didn't bother me that we lost those games. Like,
no, not at all. Not at all. Yeah. And the fact that those guys were playing in that game that late in that game was really crazy to me. But like Evan said, we'll get our chance to play them in the regular season, and I think we're going to do very, very well. But yeah, to get into some of these other preseason games that have happened since. So yeah, Evan touched on the 2 Warriors games, but actually the most impressive game, in my opinion, was the Nets game, which was our second game. And so this game was particularly interesting because it was without 4 of our main players, I believe. So it was without LeBron and AD, which were the 2 main ones. Actually, Austin Reeves, the third main one. And then who else? Oh, and then Jared Vanderbilt was also out, and I believe Cam Reddish too, because they were actually Vanderbilt and Reddish were out for injury reasons, and then the big three, LeBron, AD, and Austin, were just out for because they're stars. So without all of those players, and we were playing the Kings, and the Kings played all their players. So we saw De'Aaron Fox, we saw Sabonis, we actually didn't see Keegan Murray, but we saw Sabonis and Fox, who were their two best players, and we saw some other guys too. So without all of our players, we handily beat the Kings. So it was really impressive to see that. I think there's a lot of things to talk about and to unpack between all these games, but I think the most important, or the thing that stood out most to me across every preseason game so far, Evan, is the play from D'Angelo Russell. I guess to take a step back, all summer long, Lakers fans were just talking poorly about D'Angelo Russell. He pretty much played himself off the floor against the Nuggets because of his defense, and honestly because of his offense too. His shot wasn't hitting, and he was a complete liability on defense. And for those 4 games against the Nuggets, he played very poorly and lost his starting job in that series. And that led a lot of Lakers fans over the summer to act like that's how he played his entire time here as a Laker, which is not true at all. He played great during the regular season. He played great during the Warriors series. The series right before that, there was one game, I think he was 12 for 17 with like 31 points. But long story short, Lakers, kind of had this bad taste in their mouth from D'Angelo Russell because the Nuggets game, talked poorly about him all summer. He got kind of, took a pretty healthy pay cut. He was making above $30 million. We re-signed him to $17 million, and boy, oh boy, he has been going off this preseason. He looks absolutely incredible. He's played every single game. He's scored, 20 plus points in multiple games. I think he's shooting 70% from 3-point range right now, and he's taken like 5 or 6 attempts per game. And the thing that stood out to me the most, which we actually saw in the most recent Warriors game this past Friday, is his improvement to his commitment in defense. His commitment to defense, sorry. So this past Friday, we saw this in all games, but specifically this past Friday in the Warriors game, which we lost, he took a charge. He had 2 steals, and he had a block. And he didn't have any play where he got completely burned or missed an assignment or looked like he didn't know what he was doing. So I've been extremely impressed with D'Lo. I think he's really took all the criticism to heart. He's improving on the things that people asked him to improve on. And, I think watch out, because we knew about the big 3, LeBron, AD, and Austin, but I did not expect D'Lo to look this good. So I'm super excited and curious to hear what your thoughts about D'Lo are and just the rest of the Lakers preseason in general.
Yeah, D'Lo, I am over the moon excited about. I'm so happy for him in so many ways. When we signed him, I was one of the ones that was talking on the timeline about he is a perfect fit just because of his style of play. And when the Denver series happened and everyone wanted to blame him for so much, oh man, it crushed me too. Because I was really pulling for the guy, and and I still feel like a lot of fans are being way too harsh and way too unfair on him. But I love the way that he's responded, and there's 2 things that I feel are responsible for this. One, he played with Kobe, and 2, he's now become fast friends with Austin, who is also a Kobe stan himself, like us, and I think that influence and the fact that they're spending all this time together. He heard everybody talking, and I think he in particular saw everything that was happening with Austin, because I remember seeing a tweet that was just him joking around and I can't remember if it was a tweet or it was an Instagram post, but I saw it on Twitter, and it was he had posted a he was in a car and there was a billboard on a
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. And he's like, he said something to the effect of like, if I could just be this guy for one day. So like, I feel like, like he's a smart guy. He sees what's happening. He sees like, like Austin's put in the work, Austin's getting all this, recognition that I'd like to get also. And, like his Mamba mentality is kicking in a little bit is what I feel like. And like,
yes,
it's really, really exciting to see. And, what makes me really excited is, in the late 80s, the Lakers really did have a big four, and it doesn't get talked about very often. But, Byron Scott and James Worthy, were right up there with Magic and Kareem in those back-to-back years, where the four of them were almost all averaging 20 points a game. I mean, because it was like, Magic was over 20, Worthy was over 20, and then I believe, Kareem was somewhere around like 17, and then, I believe Byron Scott was somewhere around 18. Yeah. So, like, I mean, the perfect balance of that team was a big reason why they won back-to-back, championships. And, I've even written about this. There's an article on my timeline about this. Like, I'm so confident because I have this same feeling about this team that I had in the late 80s. Like, we could potentially have a big four with this team. And teams are going to be in a lot of trouble because when you got four guys that can legitimately score, and then we might even, if Taurean Prince starts with him, the way he's hitting that three, we're going to have such a potent offense that it's going to be amazing. And like, if this team is anywhere at all in the top 10 defensively, we are going to be the hardest out of anybody. So I am super, super excited. Like everything that's going on with D'Angelo, like, I'm so glad that he's come back to get a second chance, and, because the way that all happened too, like, I think he realized that what he did was wrong. And like, you shouldn't be like, ratting on your teammates. But at the same time, like, I get the feel it didn't bother me as much because I've always, felt like, maybe Nick Young wasn't the greatest teammate anyway, and that's why he did it. And maybe
also, I don't know if it's been confirmed that he did it. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, that's fine. Like, yeah. And so like, but that's always been my personal biases. So like, I've always kind of, I've always kind of erred on the side of like, that wasn't cool to do, but like, like, hey, learn your lesson, move on kind of thing, and he seems to have, and like, like he seems to be happy to be back here and get his second chance. And Jeannie is also happy to have him back. So like, yeah, I'm really rooting for D'Angelo, and I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah, man. We're all happy to have him back. But one thing that you kind of you brought up there that I want to touch on is, you were talking about the big four, and you mentioned the fifth guy being Taurean Prince. So this is something I think we should talk about. And I was telling Evan this earlier. So, my line of thinking has changed now for the third time. So originally I told you guys I thought Vando was going to be the fifth starter, along with Austin, D'Lo, LeBron, and AD. Then I think last week or 2 weeks ago I told you guys, hey, I think it's actually going to be Rui. Now I'm pretty sure it's going to be Taurean Prince. So, we saw him start the last 2 games, I believe, maybe even the last 3 preseason games. And part of that is because Jared Vanderbilt has been hurt with a heel injury, which fortunately they confirmed is going to not be an issue. And they're just being overly cautious, and he will be ready for game 1. So that's awesome. But because Vanderbilt hasn't been playing, that's kind of given Taurean Prince the opportunity to slip into this starting role. And man, he's looked really good. I was I didn't expect this at all. He's, like I said, paid significantly less than both Rui and Vanderbilt. And in that first game, he looked awful. Well, didn't look awful, but the refs called a pretty tough game on him. And he had, fouled out in 7 minutes or something and didn't score at all. But since then, he's looked incredible. He looks like a true sharpshooter, true 3-and-D guy. A guy that can shoot, above 40% on the three on the season, and playing with guys like LeBron and AD, he's getting open looks that he's probably never had in his career. So I'm super excited about Taurean Prince, and wanna know if you think he's going to be the fifth starter, Evan, and just what your thoughts on Prince are this preseason.
Yeah, I think that it's really looking like he's the guy that they're looking at. But the thing that still sticks in the back of my mind is that like as preseason started, Darvin Ham did say, we know who that guy is.
It's a good point.
We're not going to tell you, basically, is what
yeah.
And so that's what like made me think it was Vanderbilt. But as I watched these games, like I had been, kind of the mind of like, it's got to be Vanderbilt, it's got to be. But as I watch these games, like Taurean Prince, he's, I'd say a slight downgrade defensively from Jared Vanderbilt, but it's not significant enough to take that offense out of the starting lineup. And I think that, even if Darvin Ham had decided Vando, I think it may end up being Taurean Prince. And, and that this bench is still so versatile. Like any way you kind of stack it, like I'm looking at, different lineups and different lineup combinations. And like we can create, matchup nightmares for different teams in so many ways just through that bench that it doesn't like it can be interchangeable. Like you can go back and forth between Vando and Prince, but like having offense like that to start a game, especially against a team like Phoenix, who are really going to have to need offense like that to keep up with, that's I think that we should probably lean toward Taurean Prince, and hopefully that's what Ham is thinking. So, I guess we'll see in 10 days, or no, it's less than 10 days right now. It's 9 days from now. Yeah,
9 days, baby.
4th, we will find out what we're going to do.
Yeah, but one thing that and I totally agree with everything you said there. And it's again, these are good problems to have. No matter who they choose, I think we're going to be successful. You can't really go wrong. But ultimately, I do think it's going to be Prince. And just a couple notes or a couple points to add is if it is Prince, then you can bring both Rui and Jared Vanderbilt off the bench. And you can bring them off the bench at the same time if you want. And I think that's actually a really interesting move because when you bring them both off the bench at the same time, you're bringing, a microwavable offense, which is Rui, and then you're bringing, insane high energy defense, point of attack defense, which is Jared Vanderbilt. So to bring that combination off the bench at the same time is really intriguing to me, and I think could be deadly in the playoffs or in a tense game. And then the other thing with Taurean Prince starting is so then you've got in addition to LeBron and AD, the two stars, you've got D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, and Taurean Prince, all of whom I think could potentially, not saying they're going to, but could potentially shoot 40% from 3-point this year. Or close to 40% from 3-point. And so that means, and they're going to have all three have tons of open looks because they're playing with LeBron and AD. So, and we haven't seen that in, I don't know how long, we had KCP the year we won the championship, but even the year we won the championship, we didn't have a ton of, I guess we had Danny Green too, but we weren't like a, sharp shooting 3-point team. So to surround LeBron and AD with true 3-point guys, which I think, Reeves' 3-point shot has clearly improved. D'Lo is shooting lights out. Like I said, I think it literally might be 70% from three during the preseason. And then now Taurean Prince, who's shooting like 50% from three. And these guys are all taking plenty of attempts too. They're not like, this isn't on like 2 attempts per game. So, yeah, I think it's going to be Prince, and I'm excited about it. I didn't expect to be. So it's been cool to watch this evolve.
Yeah, like it's like I said, I look at this team and like the versatility is the biggest thing that like I love about this team. Like, like I felt like we had it in 2020, and that's a big reason we won the chip. Is like, we could really match up with anybody. And like I feel that confidence again, looking at this bench. So anyway, we'll move on to our next topic here. And actually this one, like, I'm going to be honest here. Like I've only kind of glanced at this list, so I'm gonna start this off, and then I'm gonna kick it to you because maybe you've taken a better look at it. Because I have a thing about a lot of these lists that I feel that like most of these lists are purposely done, more for engagement than they are for kind of any kind of good basketball evaluation. And that's kind of my opinion on these. So anyway, ESPN has released its top 100 player rankings for the upcoming season. And, some of the highlights, I guess the SGA isn't even ranked here.
No, so that was
Okay.
sorry, I've got some notes for Evan, and they're a little bit confusing. So sorry to interrupt, but I'll just
No. Thank
real
you.
quick.
Thank you for interrupting.
Yeah, so the like Evan said, the ESPN, every year releases their top 100. Actually, you know what? I think it was the NBA. Yeah, it was the NBA releases their top 100 players. So it's made up of media critics, and I think a combination of maybe some people that are actually, front office members, not like GMs or anything, but people in the front office. So, just some interesting points from, between last year's rankings and this year's rankings. There was some interesting jumps. So, first and foremost, one that was awesome was SGA went from not being in the top 100 at all last year to being ranked number 8 this year, which was really cool. We had Lauri Markkanen went unranked to being ranked number 28. Paolo went from 82 to 30. We had Franz Wagner go from 52 to can't see there, but and then we had some drops too. CP3 went from 21 to 76. Cade Cunningham went from 35 to 74. And then Ja Morant went from being number 9 overall last year to 35. So those were kind of the biggest risers and fallers. But and then the top 10 I've got here as well. Let me.
Wow, that jaw dropping from 9 to 35. Like, wow. Like, I feel like that's almost like, solely based on reputation and kind of a little unfair. Like, like, I'm not so sure about that one. Like,
yeah, totally.
And
so, anyways, long story short is the NBA's, they release these rankings every year, and they're always, last year I think they had AD ranked at like 50 or something, and unfortunately he was another guy that was a big riser. I think they have him at 8 or 9. I think they have him at 9, and LeBron's at 8. So fortunately LeBron and AD are both in the top 10, but it's just another part of sort of this media propaganda that we see, day in and day out, which is why I think it's important to have podcasts like ours and like so many of the other great podcasts out there that give, a true, not that it's an unbiased perspective, but it's at least an informed perspective, which a lot of these sadly NBA media personalities are uninformed, and unfortunately we see a lot of that hate goes towards the Lakers. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting. It's a huge this NBA top 100 is a huge deal every year. I think the players read it. They're all responding to it on Twitter. Specifically, the John Morant one. He responded multiple times to his big drop. So yeah, it's just interesting and important to remember that not to take the NBA media too seriously.
Exactly. And, like, you brought up biases, and like, we are definitely biased as far as Lakers, but I feel like we're honest about our biases.
True.
Where
True.
that's my biggest problem with a lot of the media, is that a lot of them play this game and just aren't honest about their biases.
Right.
And like, I'd rather you like come out and say it instead of like BSing about it. And
Right.
like, and that's the thing that also bothers me about the John Morant thing, is it's like, we're talking about basketball. Like, I understand a lot of people have their personal feelings about, a lot of his off court things, but like, can we, kind of leave that? Can we separate the two? Like, because I feel like that's irresponsible when you're, letting your personal biases affect your basketball evaluation. That's what bothers me. And I see that go on with a lot of the voting and a lot of this ranking stuff, and it's why I can't take it seriously a lot of times, because I'm, like, you should be able to, if you're doing this, and especially if you're getting paid to do this, I feel like you should be able to throw out your biases, or at least do like we're doing, and like, be completely upfront about it. Like, hey, I'm a Laker fan, and like I am gonna lean towards Lakers, and like,
Right.
Like, I'd much rather have that than this, like pretend like we're unbiased, and we see the biases seeping through your takes. You know what I mean? That's what bothers me.
Totally. And acting like everything's black and white too, and like, oh, this is for sure the number one player in the NBA, and there's no other possible, number one, and it's just like, yeah. So this is sort of a long-winded PSA to not take the mainstream media too seriously, and to be sure to check out small local podcasts like ours, and like the many other podcasts out there. I'll be sure to put some in the comments, some recommendations of podcasts that I listen to in the comments of this episode. But yeah, be sure to diversify what news you're intaking when it comes to sports news, and to not take anything the mainstream media says too seriously, because a lot of it's BS, and sadly a lot of it's uninformed. So yeah, that can be the end of our rant.
Exactly. Either just be upfront about your biases, or shut the fuck up. How about
Yes. Yes. Well said. Put that on a poster and hang that above my bed.
So anyway, on to some other NBA preseason news. The Mavs look pretty awful so far. They lost to Luka's old team, Real Madrid. And like, I still like, as much as Kyrie is like one of the most skilled basketball players I've ever seen play. But like, and well, actually I shouldn't frame it like that, because it's definitely not on him. But like, this fit between him and Luka, I just look at it and it's just, this is oil and water. Like, it doesn't mix well. It like, I mean, maybe they'll kind of figure out some chemistry going into the season, but like, I don't, and I see this team as, in fact, I have them, I just put out my rankings. I have them as 10 as the bottom playing team. And, I was what's that?
10 in the West, or 10
in the West?
total?
10 in the West.
Yeah.
And I was even kind of like, when I did that, I was just kind of hesitant, but like, but what made me put it there is just Luka and Kyrie are just such great individual players. I just feel like they're gonna be right there. But yeah, there's the rest of that team. I just they don't have the pieces, and yeah, just I don't know what's going to happen with that team, but I feel like it feels to me personally like this is an experiment, and it's a 1-year experiment, and if it doesn't go well, like I see Kyrie being somewhere else after this season. I'm just curious what you think.
Yeah, it reminds me, sadly, it reminds me because, like you said, I want to preface all of this with Kyrie is an incredible basketball player. And I agree, he is one of the most skilled, if not maybe the most skilled in terms of ball handling and all that player in the league. And just a
So
beautiful, incredible player to watch when he's doing his thing. But it sadly reminds me a lot of kind of the Russell Westbrook trade when he came to the Lakers, and the Lakers kind of dismantled that championship roster that they had in 2019, 2020. And if you look at the Mavs, a lot of people forgot the Mavs were in the Western Conference Finals 2 years ago before they made that Kyrie trade. So they got, they traded basically a lot of depth for a star that doesn't really fit, which is very similar to what the Lakers did. So the Mavs gave up Dorian Finney-Smith, Spencer Dinwiddie, and I believe was it Royce O'Neal, another wing. And so basically, it was three 3-and-D wings that all played a pivotal role on that Western Conference Finals Mavs team, and fit in perfectly with Luka. Right, Luka's like LeBron. You want to surround him with as many 3-and-D wings as possible, and just let him do his thing. Let him run the show. Let him make the correct basketball read and find the open man. And if the open guy's a 3-point shooter, hopefully the open guy is a 3-point shooter, and he'll make the perfect pass, and hopefully he can knock it down. And that's what they had that year. They won the Western Conference Finals. And did they make the finals? Actually, did they beat the Suns and make the finals? I forget what happened. Anyways, they made it super far that year. They really made it far. And so they traded those three guys, Dinwiddie, Finney-Smith, and Royce O'Neal.
No, they lost to the Suns. The Suns made the finals that year.
Okay, sorry. They lost to the Suns. Because I remember they had a crazy game where anyways. They traded those three role players for Kyrie, who, again, is super talented, but just doesn't fit with Luka. He has a lot of the same, a lot of their skills overlap. They're not very complementary. So, and we saw that last year. They were in like 6th place when they made that trade, or maybe even 5th place in the West. And then they ended up not even making the playoffs or the play-in. They dropped all the way to 12. So, I'm still curious as to why they made that trade. I was surprised that they extended Kyrie this summer. I thought they were going to maybe try and trade him for more assets after seeing it not really work out. But, obviously I love Kyrie as a player, wish him the best, and we'll see what happens, but not looking good if they're losing to Real Madrid in the preseason. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, we do have to take into account that, for a lot of people who don't watch preseason, this is basically how preseason works. Is that you'll start your starters, for the first quarter, sometimes for the first half they'll play, but the second half, it is, basically, the time for your bench to show themselves. So honestly, I didn't watch the game, and I'm judging that off of face value. So, but it on face value, it looks bad to lose to a non-NBA team, preseason or not. So that's the big thing there. And then,
I did watch that game, just to add a little bit. I did watch that game, and they were losing. It wasn't, and that's a common misconception. Evan's right, where the final score isn't what it looked like, but the Mavs were actually losing throughout quarter one through start to finish of that game. So,
wow.
It was not like a last minute comeback. Yeah.
Wire to wire loss.
Yes.
So anyway, on to a little bit more preseason news. Dylan Brooks, who's now nicknamed himself even Dylan the villain. Like, give me a goddamn break.
Such a douchebag.
Just punching people in the nuts again. Like, man, like I am so fine with a guy who wants to play hard, who wants to play hard nosed, in your face, like, be that, like guy that's grinding your gears, all the time. Like I'm for that, but like this dirty crap, punching people in the nuts, like just stop it, Dylan. Just stop it. Like, man, like not cool. And you're just gonna end up with bad karma. Someone's gonna end up doing something nasty to you at some point. Like, and I'm just sick of his garbage. Just like, can we just, you know, tone it down a bit, dude? Like, like that's fine. It's cool that you're embracing your role, but like self-glossing a nickname too, like just pump the brakes here, Dylan. Like, you need some help right now.
Totally. He's just the worst. I can't believe he got the contract that he did after the Grizzlies literally said, like, you're not welcome back here. And then he also proceeded to have a pretty poor FIBA showing playing for Team Canada, I believe, where he also had a couple of incidences where he hit people in the groin.
Yep.
And so, yeah, if you're going to be, again, like Evan said, there's a way to do things and there's a way not to do things. I think an example of a guy who's really good at grinding people's gears, but does it in a fair and healthy way, is and we Lakers fans know this guy well, is Patrick Beverley.
Yep.
And of course, he's not the player that he used to be on the floor. I don't think he's not quite the defender he used to be, but he's great in terms of just being a loudmouth, but not doing anything dirty. He's not hitting you in the nuts. He's not putting anyone at danger by, I know he had that thing with Russ, but I think that was still a hard basketball play. I don't think he was trying to be dirty there. And clearly they made up. So yeah, if you're going to play hard and be the guy that gives your team that energy, great, but don't be a bitch. Don't hit guys in the nuts. And, you'd think also after the public shaming that LeBron gave him in the playoffs, that he would maybe chill out a little bit and like try and stay out of the spotlight until he like proves himself. But he just continues to say stupid shit, do stupid shit. So I can't. He's in the West, still in the Western Conference. So we're gonna see him at least, I don't know how many times this year, but
At least three times.
Yeah, 3 times. So I can't wait for the Lakers to just put a fucking whooping on the Rockets this year. So
Yeah, and those teams, that team's going to be interesting. Like, they have upgraded, and they've got a better coach. So yeah, I haven't seen them play yet, but like, I'm going to keep an eye on them because I think they're going to be a lot better than they were last year for sure. So, but anyway, and then onto this next news. I hadn't heard this until that we put this list together here. I guess Mike Malone's father, Brendan Malone, has just passed away, and so rest in peace to him. And yeah, I mean that's tough. Like I just personally recently had to bury two very close friends of mine, same age. So like, yeah, like shout out to Mike Malone. That's a tough thing. And like, and the other side of that, it's maybe a motivating thing for him with for wanting to get another chip this year. And I welcome the competition, and I Denver's a formidable opponent, and shout out to Mike Malone, and really sad to hear that.
yeah, definitely RIP. I know a lot of Lakers fans, including myself, have been talking, a lot of shit on Mike Malone recently, and rightfully so. But I would just say, respectfully now, pump the brakes on any Mike Malone talk. Let him kind of mourn in peace, and definitely RIP to Brendan Malone, and thoughts and prayers to the Malone family.
Yeah, we can still talk smack. Just keep it about basketball. Just
Yeah.
keep it about basketball. That's the main.
Yes, exactly. So, but yeah, so we got a couple other non-Laker updates. So James Harden saga is still going on, believe it or not. He's I guess the most recent update is he's now practicing with the 76ers, but he actually spoke to the media for the first time this week and confirmed that he does not want to play for the Sixers. So we're in a very interesting, and it also came out that the Clippers are like making a strong push to trade for him, which we kind of knew all along. So we're now in this very interesting and awkward spot where James Harden is practicing every day with the Sixers, and I believe sounds like might play with them until he gets traded. But he's also in the media actively saying, I don't want to be on this team and I want to be on the Clippers. So, yeah, I'm glad. I just think of I just go back to my meme template of the kid taking a dab as the two guys are fighting. I'm just happy as a Laker fan to not be dealing with any of this bullshit because it's getting really messy. I thought James Harden was going to just play and kind of just shut up and put his tail between his legs, so to speak. But now that he's just making it even more awkward by continuing to say, I don't want to play for them, I don't know what's going to happen. Clearly, if for a guy like Joel Embiid, who's won the MVP last year, is desperately trying to win a championship and, rid himself of these allegations that he's a playoff dropper and that he can't win a championship, which, by the way, he is a playoff dropper. For a guy like him to have his supposed second best player actively saying, I don't want to be on this team, that's just a shitty situation. I don't know what's going to happen, but I guess if he comes to the Clippers, we've already explained on the last episode why I don't think that'll be successful either, because of fit. So I don't really care what happens here. I just want it to be resolved. I guess. What are your thoughts, Evan?
Well, I've been telling you, I don't think he's going anywhere.
Yeah.
I think Morey is Gollum right now, and Harden is Precious. He's not.
That's a funny. That's a hilarious compared. My Precious.
Exactly.
That's funny.
So yeah, I'm not surprised, and I think, let me think how to put this. My condolences, Philly fan. The drama is yours now.
Yeah.
We're drama free over here in LA. I guess maybe because of the strike or something, but it's all yours now, Philly.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah. And you guys have had a successful NFL. You guys are having too much. The Phillies are successful. The Eagles are successful.
Yes, exactly.
It's cool if the Sixers take a step back. So
exactly. Come on.
And it's not our.
Don't need to be greedy like Boston.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, and then last thing we got here to talk about here, basketball wise, this is a good one. Kawhi apparently says no league policy will help him play more games.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be here all week.
And I think I tend to agree with him. If you know anything about his injury, it's a degenerative injury, and I believe he is getting close to being bone on bone in some of those places on his knee. So yeah, no league policy is going to be able to tell him you're going to get out there and play when he knows his body is saying, no, I ain't going to play tonight. So yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised that he's come out and said this, but it's also like, the other side is it's really sad. Kawhi is such a great player, and there's so many great players in this league that I can think of that just we never truly got to see their greatness and it's because of injury. And I mean, Kawhi did end up getting 2 chips, and he is going to be considered one of the greats of all time. But I feel like he had a game to be one of the truly elite ones. So it is really sad from that respect. But from the other respect of a Laker fan, and looking forward to this season, and the Clippers are again loaded, but they're still a collection of pieces. Like
and getting dusty. Those pieces are getting dusty.
And like, I'm sorry, you're only going to have Kawhi for a few games. Good luck. Sorry, Clipper fans. There's a number of you out there that I really like. You're some great dudes, but like, man, and like, I feel like a lot of you don't deserve this, but like, yeah, like that's just a poorly constructed team that's mostly a collection of pieces and is not a good team, and that's what needs to kind of be figured out. And I think that they're still going to be a very formidable team, and they're still going to be I've still got them picked as top 5, the 5th seed, in fact, in the West. So but like, I don't see them as that collection of pieces ever getting over the top. And and if Kawhi, if that knee just can't get better, that knee can't get better, and there's really nothing you can do about that. So yeah, I'm curious what you think about any of that. But like, like I said, it's the two perspectives for me of it's sad on one end, but it's also kind of like hey, it's great for Lakers, great for us this season.
Totally, yeah. I did find it funny, and I will agree that it's also sad. But just to start, I found it funny because I saw some Clippers fans when that 65, when that rule came out that you have to play a minimum of 65 games to be considered for awards, and then the second rule came out to basically make it so load management isn't a thing. I saw a lot of Clippers fans victory lapping, being like, "Oh, this means Kawhi's going to finally play more, and we're going to win a championship." And I remember telling a couple of them, like, "No, Kawhi has an injury that's like long term. Just because the rules are changing doesn't mean basically exactly what Evan said." So, I thought that was a little bit funny to have Kawhi himself come out and say, yeah, like, I don't give a fuck what rules. I'm going to do what my body says, and, which is rightfully so. But yeah, to agree and to, piggyback off Evan, it is really sad. Kawhi truly is, one of the best basketball players ever. Just, when you look at his skill set, easily one of the best defenders ever. That championship he won with the Raptors is arguably one of the toughest championships of all time. He single-handedly carried that team, and came in like that and won it like, just like no chemistry, like just came in, won a championship, left, then they fell to pieces, like was clearly the reason they won that championship, and deserves all the respect in the world. And I think people also need to, we talked about some of the Lakers fans going too hard on certain Lakers players that have, haven't been playing or whatever, or even D'Lo, who had the off series against the Nuggets. I think NBA fans and Clippers fans need to take it easy on Kawhi, because when he's playing, he's incredible. We even saw it last year in that Suns series. He was averaging like 40 points a game before he went down, and it was so sad to see him go down. So, take it easy on the guy. He's clearly got a long-term knee issue. When he's healthy, he's one of the best. But yes, as a Lakers fan, I sleep easy at night knowing that Kawhi will not be really will not be bothering us in the playoffs.
Yes, definitely. Because they still they still have that regular season record over us, and we still haven't faced them in a playoff series. So that, because they do, even being a collection of pieces, they did match up with us well. but I also feel better about this roster, about how we match up with them now. So anyway, on to a little bit of football now. So yeah, a big sigh from Colin, and yeah, I don't blame him, because he's sitting here wondering if his Packers just really suck.
Yep.
But this is also, this is the growing pains of a young quarterback. I see his potential, but you're gonna have games, like you're gonna have a tough season, basically. Like, I remember, Troy Aikman's rookie season, 1-15, and he ended up winning, 3 Super Bowls. So like, anyway, like, I feel your pain, but yeah, you just got to be patient, patient with this team. Like, yeah, you're in rebuilding mode. And so
totally. Yeah. And hey, I was here for, Aaron Rodgers' rookie season. He
Yep.
was, 7-10. So yeah, I've had a really rough football week. My Packers lost to, just to quickly recap for the listeners, my Packers lost to the Raiders on Monday Night Football, which the Raiders are, in my opinion, one of the worst teams in the league. And then oh, that was cool. I put a thumbs up, and then did you see that, Evan?
Oh, I missed that. Oh, it floated on
See that? I put a thumbs up on the screen. That's cool. We got a little AI. It reads our thumbs. So to recap, my Packers got killed by the Raiders, who speaking of thumbs, let's see if it can read Evan's broken thumb. This is what happens. This is Zooted After Dark. This is Zooted After Dark portion of the podcast. Sorry, listeners. So yeah, my Packers got crushed by the Raiders, and just last night, my USC Trojans, this was even more unexpected, got crushed by Notre Dame. So, and which I knew USC's defense was fraud and was suspect, but I did not know Caleb Williams was suspect. Excuse me, and he looked, horrible. He had 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. Looked like a shell of himself all game. So, sorry, I got the hiccups here. So yeah, I'm in football hell right now between the Packers and the Trojans. So, I'm not going to talk too much about it, but yeah, curious to hear how Evan's feeling over in Baltimore in Ravenland.
I'm doing pretty good. Like last week was a tough loss, but it's also like, I have a different, like, kind of outlook when it comes to division games. I don't treat them like the rest of the regular season. To me, is different than the 6 division games you play.
Yeah.
And it's because those teams know your team better than anybody else, because you play them twice a year. And every divisional game, in my opinion, is unpredictable and a lot of times ugly in spots, and weird in spots too. And that's exactly what that game was against the Steelers. Because, like, I felt like they dominated that game, even though they didn't score a whole lot of points, but they dominated that game for, a good 3 quarters, but then just fell apart completely in the 4th quarter. And that's kind of a product of, that familiarity and that, that divisional matchup, and just, it's a, like, tooth and nail kind of, mentality between those teams a lot of times. And especially that matchup, that it's, part of what, like, drew me to, becoming a Ravens fan, is I think that's the best rivalry in football right now. And it's been a great rivalry for, better than a decade, probably almost 2 decades now. And
hard-nosed football.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard-nosed, hard-fought. And so, so that was a tough loss, but, like, this team is still, like, really playing hard and battling through all kinds of injuries. And, like, the game this morning, in fact, like, it was a tough slog. Like, there was only 1 touchdown scored. Everything else was Justin Tucker's leg, because, like, we still got some issues with red zone offense. Like, get down in the red zone, and for some reason, like, they're not calling any passes anymore. And, making it's become predictable where it's either Lamar running or the running back running, and like
Totally.
yeah, just a little too easy to stop right now. So they've got to figure that out. But like I'm still confident in this team. So like with the win today, they're 4-2. Moving forward, people are getting healthier, and Lamar is still playing great. Despite all of this, like he's playing within himself. He's not trying to do too much and not making too many mistakes. Like he's still got some things he needs to clean up. Definitely not perfect, but I'm really pleased with the way they're playing, and I'm looking up for them, and like that next matchup with the Steelers, I feel like we're definitely going to beat that because we're a much better team than the Steelers. Like they're well coached. They know how to fight and claw and scratch for that, but like that was a game that got away. So
talent-wise, agreed. You guys are a much better team talent-wise. But like Evan said, those divisional matchups, and particularly the Ravens-Steelers matchup, you got to talent goes out the window. Anything can happen. They call it any given Sunday for a reason. Exactly. So, no surprise that the Steelers pulled an upset. But I do believe the next time they meet, the Ravens will win. And if my Packers continue to flutter and just go into rebuild mode, I will. I might just have to become a bandwagon Ravens fan and watch. Ride with my co-host here. So we'll see what happens.
Well, hey, I'm happy to welcome you on the bandwagon, man. So anyway, I guess one last little thing to talk about football wise is, I guess, before, this was actually written before today, and this could actually be a little bit questioned after today. Is Brock Purdy the real deal? But, as somebody who actually watched that game, like at least most of it, I didn't see the fourth quarter because I ended up falling asleep on the couch, but I did watch most of that game. Classic. And yeah, exactly. Yeah. It just, everything else took over. I needed to heal. So. But anyway, that Cleveland defense is really, really fucking good. And, hardly anybody has been talking about it. Like, because I believe that the San Francisco defense is number one scoring wise, but they're number one, like yardage wise. And so like, and they played one hell of a, like, strong game. That's the first time that I've seen San Francisco's offense look, beatable as well as it was San Francisco's defense.
Totally.
So, and, so like a lot of people are probably going to be questioning, like, on, tomorrow, like, oh, is Brock Purdy the guy? But like, I think Brock Purdy is still, the guy, and like, such a great story too. Like, being Mr. Irrelevant.
Totally.
This, like, it's, I kind of pull from, even though like I hate the 49ers deep down, like,
so do I.
I just like I despise the 49ers, but he's a good story, and like, I've watched him play enough, and like, yeah, he's the real deal in my opinion. And yeah, today was a tough day, but like I'm still going to say that I would still buy stock in Brock Purdy, and he's the real deal to me.
Yeah, I completely agree. And just a couple of cool facts about his story that I recently heard is one. So obviously, being the last pick in the draft, like Evan said, he gets paid like the league minimum, which is it's still a lot of money compared to a normal person, but I think it's like 300 or 400 grand, which after taxes in California, so and so he's living with a roommate, which is awesome. I didn't know that. And he also and it's like a non-football. It's just like a random guy he met on, or a random person he met through a housing situation. And then he takes public transportation to work every day. So whether it's Uber or public trans, you'll, if you're an SF, you might be running into Brock Purdy, which is just super cool, and he's just a very humble guy. And to be leading a team with so many star names and big personalities and sort of not humble guys, it's really cool to see someone like that at the lead and doing well. And clearly, he's making uh, he's made more good decisions than bad decisions, because they're 5-1. Even though they lost today, they're 5-1, and his stats are generally very good. So yeah, I am also buying stock in Brock Purdy.
Definitely. Well, it's time to move on to our weekly segment here, historical stoner circle. Yeah, at some
Yes.
point I need to get some music for this at some point.
For sure.
The intro music was made by me, so is the outro music. I'll make some music for this at some point. But anyway, so you're gonna, I'll kick it off and I'll send it to Colin first. So our first candidate here tonight is, great conqueror. Probably one of the greatest conquerors, known to history. And so, would you gas or pass with Genghis Khan, or I guess the correct pronunciation is actually, I believe, Genghis Khan. I've always learned it my entire life as Genghis Khan, so I
did too.
Follow that. But I believe the correct pronunciation is Genghis Khan.
Interesting. Good to know. Genghis Khan is the correct.
Yeah.
Genghis. Yes, I would definitely gas with Genghis Khan. Leader and founder of the great Mongolian Empire, or Mongol Empire. I actually, this is super random, but I was an East Asian Studies minor in college.
Oh, nice.
So I studied all sorts of, stuff about the Mongolian Empire and just, Asian history in general. So, would have a million things to ask Genghis.
Yes.
Would have him. Sorry, I'm just not used to. I also
exactly
say Genghis,
soft G's
but
and hard G's.
now that I know how to say it, I want to do it correctly. So, have a million questions that I would ask Genghis. I mean, what he was able to build with the lack of resources that existed in the time that he was around, is truly remarkable. And any person I can, I think I've said this on past episodes, any person I can smoke with and pick their brain about just success or anything cool that they, if they have wisdom to be given, I would love to try and receive that wisdom. So yes, I would definitely gas with Genghis Khan, and I'm glad I know the correct pronunciation. What about you, Evan?
This one actually, I've thought about before, and I would actually pass on this because I would like to gas with his son instead, Kublai.
Oh, interesting.
I find him a lot more interesting in a lot of ways. Like Genghis is very interesting, but he's still very savage in a lot of ways. Whereas Kublai really understood diplomacy much better than his father did. And so I'd really love the chance to gas with Kublai. So I would pass with Genghis in the hopes that I could, somehow, hop in the time machine again and go gas with Kublai instead.
Fair enough. I did not, when you said no, I didn't think that was the direction you were going to take it. But that's an awesome direction, and I totally see your point. So that was a great answer.
Awesome.
So our second one here, we've got, and Laker fans, I know this is going to anger certain Laker fans, probably most Laker fans, but this is a really interesting one. We've got famous Celtics center, Celtic big man, Robert Parrish. So, Evan, you were the one. You were the one that came up with this one. So, gas or would you gas or pass with Robert Parrish?
Oh, this one, like, yeah. Let me like kind of preface this, like, yeah, like
Evan's not a Celtics fan.
I hate Boston. It's always fuck Boston,
That's right.
but the Chief like holds a special place in my heart. He really does hold this very special place in my heart because in the late '80s he got busted for having some weed shipped to him, and like I remember when I found that out, like I hated the Celtics. I just despised everybody on that team. But when I found that out, it like softened me a little bit, and I was like, right on, Chief. Like
You're like, so that's why they call him Chief.
exactly, yeah. So like if I got the chance to smoke with Robert Parrish, like I am not passing that up because I would love to sit down and talk with him, about the '80s Celtics as well as all the battles with the Lakers and just basketball in general. And just, I mean, he's such a smart, interesting, thoughtful guy. And like, yeah, like I would absolutely gas with Robert Parrish, and I would have a great time. And it may still be fuck Boston, but Chief is all right with me, man.
You gotta be careful. Someone's gonna clip that. Someone's gonna clip that. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just messing with you. And to be totally honest, I would gas with Robert Parrish as well. This is actually funny. I think we did Bill Walton on Historical Stoner a couple episodes ago, but I'm a huge Bill Walton fan, and I know Bill Walton is, him and Robert Parrish were very, very close, and Robert Parrish is actually the reason why Bill Walton joined that Celtics team when he did join them. And I obviously Bill Walton is a big stoner, so we know Robert Parrish was a big stoner because he got caught with weed. So
Yeah, maybe Bill sent the package.
I think what's that?
Maybe Bill sent the package.
Yeah, yeah. Who knows? Yeah, that's hilarious. It probably was Bill. Yeah, so those types of people, would love to. Any basketball player that's down to smoke weed and talk hoops. And I know it's a Celtics player and it is still fuck Boston and it always will be fuck Boston. But, Robert Parrish was actually in that Bill Walton documentary that I mentioned on the previous episode. And, he's been in a couple of the Lakers Celtics documentaries as well. And you can just tell that he's a super cool guy, super insightful guy. And would just be a cool person to smoke a joint with and have a conversation. So, gas for sure.
Hell yes. So okay, and then on to our last one here. Last one here. He's one of my favorite actors personally. He's been in Peaky Blinders, Batman Begins, and gosh,
Oppenheimer.
Thank you, Oppenheimer. I was trying to remember. There's a recent one that I'm like,
yeah,
on the tip of my tongue. Oppenheimer. And so anyway, Cillian Murphy. I always go with the soft C, but it's pronounced Cillian Murphy.
I believe that's pronunciation. I'm not positive. It could be a soft C, but I've always said Killian. But so this is interesting because I'm a huge movie fan, and all of those movies you name. I haven't seen Oppenheimer yet, but I'm sure it's pretty good. And all those other movies you named, I love. But I think I'm gonna have to pass because the common denominator between all of this dude's characters are they're all borderline psycho. And especially Peaky Blinders, like, Tommy Shelby is, just on the verge of, well, he is psycho. He's done a lot of dark shit in that show. And that's a great show that everyone should check out. Peaky Blinders on Netflix. It's got like 6 or 7 seasons, tons of great content. But then the other one Evan mentioned, Batman Begins, which a lot of people don't realize he was in, because a lot of that Batman goes kind of under the radar because everyone always talks about Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises. But Batman Begins is a great movie, and that's Cillian Murphy plays the Scarecrow in that one. which is a underratedly scary character. He's super scary in that movie. So yeah, I don't think any of those guys, especially the Scarecrow, man, I would not want to smoke a joint with the Scarecrow. And like the way they do it in that movie, he like sprays some shit in your face and then you like trip balls and like, yeah, no thanks. I wouldn't want him to pull that out while we were smoking a joint and just be like, oh shit, dude. Now I'm like, so yeah, as much as I love him as an actor and all those movies and shows we just named, I think I'm gonna have to pass. But what about you?
Yeah, like I'm actually kind of with you, but for like some little different reasons. Like I love his acting. He's a fabulous actor, and yeah, just about anything he's on screen with, like just absolutely riveting to me. But like that's part of the issue is that like he's one of those guys that just seems like a little too intense at times, and like like he wouldn't relax, and
Right.
like you're just like trying to chill and trying to have a good conversation, and I have a feeling it would just like it would always be like a little bit like kind of tense and edgy and like so yeah. So I'll pass on Killian as much as I'll watch any movie with him in it, but like yeah, no, we don't need to smoke a joint together.
Have you seen Oppenheimer yet? Have we gone over
I
this?
have not seen Oppenheimer.
Okay, yeah, neither have I. So both need to see that.
Definitely. And so
yeah,
go ahead. No, go ahead, man.
I was gonna say. So speaking of movies, a new section of the podcast that we're gonna try and add here at the end, especially when we go back to our normal schedule of releasing on Fridays. I know we're a little bit off schedule here with this Sunday release, but what are you watching this weekend? Which I guess for this episode will be what did you watch this weekend? So for me, the one thing I was super excited about is Mission Impossible, the new Mission Impossible. I believe it's called Dead Reckoning Part 1. And it's like, I don't know, it's probably like the 7th one. It came out on like rental or whatever, streaming this weekend. So I was super excited to rent and watch it. But in typical stoner fashion, I rented it and I still have it rented and I haven't been able to make it. It's like these movies these days are so long. It's like a 3-hour movie. I, make it through the first 30, 45 minutes and then I pass out. So I haven't been able to make it past that, but the first 45 minutes have been awesome. So checking that out. And then also checking out, this is shout out to one of our Twitter Laker friends, excuse me, Playoff Tone. He reminded me he recently did a callback to a favorite movie of mine, No Country for Old Men. So I rewatched that last night. Hadn't seen it in probably
Great movie,
5 or 10 years. One of my favorite movies. So tried to make it through Mission Impossible, and then I watched No Country for Old Men. So what about you, Evan?
Nice. Yeah, like I want to like the Mission Impossible stuff. Like I want to watch those movies, like, but I have this like Tom Cruise aversion, and like
you and not just you, a couple other people.
And it take like any movie that he's in, even like really good movies that he does, it like always takes me a while to kind of like, yeah, okay, I'll watch it. And like, so like, and like Mission Impossible, like I've seen the first one, but like I haven't seen any of the other ones. And like one of these days I keep telling myself, like, I'm gonna sit down and watch those movies. But yeah, it's just this Tom Cruise version, because like he is the most kind of like same actor ever in every role that he does. Like the way I look at him is he's different shades of Maverick in every role.
Totally.
Like, and like, it took me a long time to finally watch the new Top Gun, which is a great movie, by the way.
Yeah.
Great movie. He makes great movies, but like, he just like, as an actor, he just gets on my nerves. So like, yeah, it just, and like, I understand he's still making good movies, but like, yeah, I at some point I need to watch those Mission Impossible movies, because everybody talks about them, and like, yeah, Like I want to see them, but like it's just this funny, like I said, this funny like Tom Cruise version that I have.
I get it, man. A lot of people, I'm kind of the same way with him. Like, he's a weird dude, and a lot of his off the, not off the court, but off the film stuff, I don't agree with. But specifically, the most recent Mission Impossibles, like the special effects and just everything is so off the walls that, yeah, I highly recommend, and especially for a movie to get stoned and watch and be zooted while you watch, highly recommends the most recent, the last probably, I don't know, I think there's like 7 of them total, the last 2 or 3 of them, and you don't need to see the first ones to be able to watch. You can just watch any of them. Last few ones are all really good, so I check it out. I think it'll be similar to how you felt about the new Top Gun.
Yeah. One of these days I'm going to get there. So, but anyway, like, I've been, with basketball coming back, I've been really, watching a lot of sports stuff, listening to a lot of sports stuff. And so I've only seen a couple movies in the past week, but they've both been really good. I saw the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, which I absolutely loved. Like, I feel like it's the best representation of the original comic book. And there's even a couple scenes that are like, frames right out of the original comic. And yeah, it's great. I really enjoyed that. Had a lot of fun watching that. And then I saw one of the funniest movies I've seen in a long time. And they don't make good comedies a lot of, people complain. You hear people complain all the time about how hard it is to find a good comedy. But I found a hilarious one that didn't get promoted that well when it was in the theaters. And, I ended up missing it in the theaters, in fact, because it didn't come to the theater that was close to me. And like, I kept telling myself, I'm going to go see it, and just didn't get around to it. But like, and I regret it, because it's a really damn funny movie. And it's called The Machine by the comedian Bert Kreischer. And he's the guy that takes off his shirt. And so he's got a bit that he talks about on stage, about how he was, part of a Russian foreign exchange program. And he went to Russia and actually was on this train and, was partying with all these Russian gangsters. And they started calling him the Machine because he was this drinking machine. And like, he ended up robbing the train with all these gangsters. So this movie is about, like his real life kind of coming true and like coming back to bite him. So the gangsters come back and they need something from him. And, I don't want to spoil too much of it, but it is hilarious. Like, laugh out loud funny. Mark Hamill plays his dad. And like, if you like to laugh, if you like Bert Kreischer's humor, especially, like, it's on Netflix right now. Watch this movie. It is fucking hilarious.
I already added it to my queue, and I think actually I'm gonna try. Hopefully, I don't, fall asleep. That's like I do, but I might try and watch it after this podcast ends. So,
Nice.
yeah, very high on my list, and I've heard nothing but good things about that one. So, anything else you're looking to watch or check out or saw recently?
No, like I said, that's been pretty much it for me. So, like, basketball season's here. So like,
yeah,
like I kind of, I'll get a little bit here and there, but like, I really kind of immerse myself in hoops and hoops talk,
for sure.
especially once that first tip off comes. Like,
Yep.
it's basketball for me until June. So,
And we're only 9 days away, so by the time our next episode comes around, we'll be we'll only be 1 episode away from live hoops, so or from regular season hoops, I should say. So the countdown is on.
exactly. Yeah. Cannot wait. So anyway, I guess we're going to sign off here. It's been great having you. And, I'm glad that we're able to do this. Sucks we couldn't do it Friday, but, hey, shit happens, and
Glad you're doing well, man. Health is all that matters.
exactly, So anyway, Everybody, peace out and stay zooted.
Stay zooted, everyone.